I want to start off on a positive note. So let's start off with some winners. I think that it's easy to say, the Dallas Mavericks are winners because they got Cooper Flag, who was number one. But I think that I looked at this as when I leave the draft is now over, obviously. I know the direction that this team is going in. And either it's a clear direction of a rebuild or it's a clear direction of, oh, we're trying to get better. We're trying to contend. Let's not get it twisted. Not every team has the idea that they're a championship caliber team. Some people understand, we're not there yet, but we're building. Or some people understand, you know what, we're not going to contend for a few years, but we're trying to build for the future. Some teams know how to do it. Some teams do not. It's funny. I know I said that it's easy to say that Cooper Flag and the Dallas Mavericks were winners. So I'm going to leave them off my list. However, I am going to talk about the Spurs. Because when you look at them getting someone like a Dylan Harper, I think that was, I know it was the number 2 overall pick, but I think that was a great draft pick. It was a little head scratching at first because it's like, all right, at this point, I see what you're doing. You're getting the next available player. Cooper Flag obviously was out of the picture. So universally, the next best player was Dylan Harper. I was curious, and I'm going to be curious how they essentially have a team that has Dylan Harper, that has Stephon Castle, that has De'Aaron Fox. That's a lot of people. Oh, not to mention Victor Wembanyama. That's a lot of people that need the ball in their hands. And Dylan Harper is a score-first player. Like, I don't know if you saw him at Rutgers, but he's a bucket. And I'm interested to see how they incorporate all those players. And essentially that's 4 mouths to feed. But I think when a lot of people were saying that he could be the number 1 player in the draft. I am not one of those people, but I do like the pick. You're essentially at number 2. There's no wrong answer. Well, there are some wrong answers. Let's be real. But I did like the Dylan Hart, and I also like the Carter Bryant pick that they got. I think that when you're a team, because I can imagine how difficult this is. When you're a team that is in a superstar sweepstakes, because remember, just 2 weeks ago, it was thought that you could possibly get a Kevin Durant. And I would probably understand that if you got someone like a Kevin Durant, the number 2 pick might be in the balance. So I can understand how difficult it is to go from, all right, we may not be using this number 2 overall pick because we're going to get a player the likes of Kevin Durant, to have to pivot. Now, yes, it's a little easier when you get the second best player in the draft, or for some people's opinion, the first best player in the draft. But I can imagine how difficult it is. And to go get a Dylan Harper, you may not be as close to a championship with Dylan Harper than you would with Kevin Durant next year, but you have a young core, and you have a team full of youth, you have a team full of promise, and you have a team that you can go in a lot of different directions. And I'm very interested to see what the Spurs look like this year. Again, with Kevin Durant, I would say they're title contenders. I don't know if I'm going to go as that far, but I am excited to see the second year leap for Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama, whose season got cut short due to blood clots, and now Dylan Harper. Also, side note, I want to talk about. There's been a lot of hoopla on the web about Dylan Harper getting the number 2 jersey, which, for people that don't know, the last player that wore number 2 for the Spurs was Kawhi Leonard. Now, I understand the discussion to a certain extent. It's like there's this player has clearly been important for your franchise. He won Finals MVP for your franchise. When you had Tim Duncan in the final stages of his career, Tony Parker in the final stages of his career, Manu Ginobili in the final stages of his career, it was Kawhi Leonard to step up against the Miami Heat and really take charge, which, again, ultimately was the reason why he won Finals MVP for that franchise. Obviously, he won 2, one with the Spurs and one with the Raptors, but we're talking about the Spurs. So I get it. But I also understand the fact of Kawhi Leonard. I think people are looking at this situation the same way they're looking at Carmelo Anthony and Nikola Jokic. It's like Carmelo Anthony built this legacy in Denver with number 15, and then you give it to somebody like Nikola Jokic, who has far past what you could ever think a second-round pick could do for a team. I mean, it's undoubtable that Nikola Jokic is the greatest second-round pick we've ever seen. I mean, he's in discussion for one of, if not the best centers of all time. And again, he was drafted with a Taco Bell commercial playing, you know? But I think people are also underestimating. Now, I will say that Dylan Harper could be that good. Who knows? Dylan Harper could be the next coming of Allen Iverson. I don't know. And if that is the case, there will be discussions, obviously, towards the end of his career, or however long he stays with the Spurs. But I think people are discrediting the ending to the Kawhi Leonard relationship with the Spurs and the fact that Kawhi Leonard's still playing. And I know that he's dealt with a myriad of injuries, but it doesn't seem like he's going to retire anytime soon. So it's like, I don't want to hold a number for ransom. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hold a number, especially when number 2 has meant so much to Dylan Harper. I mean, he's essentially been number 2 since since high school, and he was a second overall pick. It just felt right, you know. I don't think this is disrespecting the legacy of Kawhi Leonard. This is just saying, I mean, Kawhi Leonard, it didn't end the happiest. And on top of that, he's still playing. They could still very well retire Kawhi Leonard's number. So I'm just saying. But yeah, I think one of the winners is Dylan Harper and the Spurs, essentially, drafting Dylan Harper. Spoiler alert. I'll give you guys a little bit of behind the curtain. This next team is landing on my draft winners. They will also be landing on my draft losers. And that is the Suns drafting or getting, because I know the Rockets and the trade and everything, getting Kaman Maluk. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Going into the draft, and especially it was very evident last year that a big man should be at the top of the Phoenix Suns list. As great as Kevin Durant was, as great as Devin Booker was, as great as Bradley Beal can be, not having a reliable center always put the Suns behind the eight ball, especially a team that struggles mightily defensively because, I mean, as great as Devin Booker is, as great as Bradley Beal is, they're not really defenders. So when your backcourt ain't really stopping nobody, you need a good front court, and they didn't really have that. So to go into the draft and get essentially what a lot of people think is the best center out of Duke, and as much as I hate Duke, because people know I'm a North Carolina fan, I think that was a huge pick. Again, this is a team. Obviously, they got the number 10 pick from the Kevin Durant trade, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But you got the best available player for your needs. And a lot of people are saying that he is the best center. And when you look, he's a high-energy player. He's a great defender. He's not the type of person to really put the ball on the ground and get you a bucket. I don't think he'll ever turn into a Joel Embiid, but nor do I think he'll turn into a Nikola Jokic. But he can be a high-energy defensive player, and that's essentially what the Suns need. So I think drafting Kaman Maluk is Malik. I'm sorry, I said your name wrong, but I think that was a home run pick, especially when you see how dire it was for them last year not having a center. So you go out, you have the number 10 pick, and you get essentially the best center. I think I think that was a slam dunk pick, in my opinion. So the Suns, that's a winner in my book. Let's talk about I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers for a second. Because we're going to talk about Ace Bailey also in a second, but the whole Ace Bailey situation kind of put them in a conundrum. I'm going to elaborate a little bit later, but it kind of put them in a conundrum. And it's like, all right, what is the best? How can we salvage a situation? How can we salvage when maybe the number one person on our board is either not available or doesn't want to come to the team? What do we do? And to get someone like VJ Edgecombe, I know he's the number 3 pick, but you get essentially one of the best guards in the draft. You get a defensive-minded guard. You also get a guard that is high-flying, that is an energy player, that can lock up, but also don't. You got the best player you can, and when you have a team that has dealt with so much injury and so much uncertainty moving forward with a Paul George, with a Joel Embiid, with a Tyrese Maxey to a certain extent, I think getting someone like VJ Edgecombe is great, especially when I'm almost sure that there was a monkey wrench thrown in the draft process for the 76ers. I'm almost sure of it. And I think they got the best player that they could at that position. So, and I love VJ Edgecombe. Like he out of Baylor, he was incredible, man. And again, I understand you're looking like, all right, I don't know if he's going to start immediately because again, I, maybe you put him at the two. You have Tyrese Maxey, him, Paul George at the three. Who knows? But I do think that I don't know 100%. Actually, I do because the reports have come out. When a monkey wrench was thrown in your draft process, I think they got the best player that they could, and I think he's going to fit. And that's another thing. He was very dependable at Baylor. Now I understand that the college basketball is different from the NBA, but he was very reliable and very healthy, and that's also something that the 76ers need a lot of. So I think getting VJ Edcombe is really good. That's one of my winners. A sleeper pick, and honestly, a pick that I don't know what it's going to look like in year two. But I'm going to pick a winner. I'm going to put them as a winner. Is the Pacers drafting Cam Jones out of Marquette? This move is not. You're not going to have Tyrese Halliburton all year. Unfortunately, with the torn Achilles in the NBA Finals, Game 7, that is, you're not going to have him all year. And when you look down the roster, outside of T.J. McConnell and Aaron Nesmith or Aaron Nimhard, I don't know. You don't really have a backup, legit backup center. I mean, point guard. And I'm going to just be real. I don't think the Pacers are going to be very good next year because they're missing their star player. But you have a player that's been in fact, you had a player that's been in college for a minute, and he gives you insurance. There you go. He gives you good insurance. Where the Pacers were drafting, you got the best option that you can get. Again, it's going to be interesting. I know this was a second round pick, but again, you didn't really have many options. You know what I'm saying? Actually, it was a first round pick. I'm sorry. You didn't really have many options, and you essentially got a backup point guard who, might I add, is a pass first point guard. So I know that he can score and everything, but he's a pass first point guard. And actually, is he an undrafted free agent? I think he is. Yeah, he definitely is an undrafted free agent. But even in that, I think that's a good pickup because again, you're not gonna have. Oh no, he was not. He was he was drafted 38th, and traded to Indy. Yeah, I think that was a great pick, and again, he kind of helps in the immediate. I expect him to be on the roster because they need backup point guard help. T.J. McConnell is probably going to play a lot of minutes next year, and you know you need some type of insurance. And I think Cam, again, I wonder how he's going to look, when Tyrese Halliburton gets back. But I think that was a great pick, to be completely honest with you, or at least a great trade because I know he was traded. So yeah, that is one of my winners is the Pacers trading for Cam Jones out of Marquette. Really good player, pass first player, sort of. I'm not gonna say Tyrese Halliburton prototype because he's not the same height and he does not have the same vision and point guard ability as Tyrese Halliburton, but he is a good backup option, especially when you're not going to have that. So, yeah, that's one of my winners. And mm, my last winner, because I'm gonna do 5 winners and 5 losers. My last winner, man. Mm, I'm gonna have to give love to the Wizards. You knew this was coming. I'm a Wizards fan, and it kind of goes back to the Philadelphia 76ers. When the person that you want, the person that's probably number one on your draft board, essentially gets taken, you do not have much time to pivot. You don't have much time to make decisions. Now, obviously, you have a war room full of people. You have scouts. You have you have people that sole purpose is to look at these players and understand who would be a best fit for your team. But when you see a player slowly dropping, and it's like, uh oh, uh oh, and then the pick right before you, he gets taken, soul crushing. Soul crushing. But shout out to the Wizards for, in my opinion, getting the best shooter in the draft in Trey Johnson. Yo, last year, now the Wizards need a lot. Let's be real. The Wizards, I don't think are really in a position this year to contend in that or even get better. I know they just traded Jordan Poole for you know uh what's homie? Oh, why is his name just CJ McCollum and draft picks and everything, but what it's looking like is not this year, but next year there should be up to like $100 million in free agency that they can use, like free agent money. Uh, so hopefully we, who knows, who knows. AJ might be available next year. I mean, he's more than likely coming out of BYU next year. Who knows? But I love what the Wizards are building. You have Balsabali, you have, you know, Alex Sarr, and now you have Trey Johnson, who I think is the best shooter in the draft, especially when I'm sure their eyes were set on one player who we'll talk about in a second. For that player not to get not to be there probably suck. And I'm not looking at Trey Johnson as like all right, well, consolary pick. No, it's you got the best available, and I think that he's gonna fit the team incredibly. When Bud Carrington and this it's a very young squad, and you have some veteran presence. Obviously, you have Marcus Smart, you have Chris Middleton, again, CJ McCollum. So I'm interested to see what they'll look like this year. But I think the Wizards got the best shooter in the draft in Trey Johnson, and I love that pick, especially with who was available at that position. So, again, my draft winners: Pacers trading for Cam Jones, Philly getting VJ Edcomb, Wizards drafting Trey Jones, the Spurs drafting Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. I didn't talk much about Carter Bryant, but I think Carter Bryant is a really good piece. Again, it's a lot of youth around your best player, and your best player, obviously Victor Wembanyama, is also young too. So and then the Suns getting Kaman Malik. I think those are really good picks, and I think that it really puts your team in a great position moving forward. So those are my draft winners. Again, congratulations to everyone that got drafted. I think the world of you guys, and you guys should be proud of yourselves.
Oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.